is more important than designing your career. I mean, forever I thought, if I could just make this amount of money, tell me if this sounds familiar, if I could just make this amount of money, then this, my personal life over here, is going to look totally awesome, right? So it's all about this, because then that's going to drive this. And all of a sudden, John Maxwell's flipped that on its ear for me, where it's this, my personal life, is going to motivate me and drive that energy over here. And that is absolutely true. It's an interesting philosophy because we look at business planning and we just say here, and when I achieve in this level over here, then I'm going to have the life I want over here. But the reality is, we won't know how to have that kind of life if we aren't practicing it now or intentionally moving towards it. Cool? I mean, any thoughts on that? I'm a guy that asks a lot of questions, so I'm just priming you for tomorrow. Be, do, have. Great bold law.
I have a question for you.
Yes?
I gave up something very dear to me, I'm very passionate about, pretty much, to focus on real estate. Much of my time. Is there a danger of keeping your eye out the ball a little bit by getting a little bit too involved in your passion? That's in my mind, in my life, that's something I have to be really careful about. So I kind of almost had to go completely away from that, just so I could focus more on my business.
I love that you brought that comment up. Thank you for sharing that. So I want to ask the group, what do you think? You know, there's a couple of thoughts I have, but I'm wondering what you think. If you've got something that's passionate, that's pulling you away from from how you're providing for your life, and your
just generally about my business. It takes too much time, too much of my thought. I should be focusing more thought on how I'm going to build my business rather than music. My thing is music, so
okay.
Be careful.
Interesting. I'm in an area where I think half the realtors in our office were musicians, because I live just in a hop, skip, and a jump from the entertainment industry. So that's a very good point. So I want to get some feedback here because I see a couple of hands. I saw yours first. Was it?
Yeah, my thought is when you first asked that question is that too much of any one good thing can be a bad thing. I guess I mean. Carrots could be great for you, but if you eat too many of them, you might.
And that's all you're eating and nothing else, right?
Right. So I guess balance in life. That's the.
Yeah. You always got to have balance. So if that balance is there, then it's great. The other thing that I would add to that is it's great to stay in a passion zone, but I always coach and consult agents to marry a passion with real estate. I don't see them compartmentalized. We just had a whole meeting in our office on Monday where everybody either went and found a meetup group, meetup.com, or they created one around their passion zone so people could see them leading in an area that they were passionate about, and that we know through tracking that that does drive business if done effectively. But again, eating carrots and nothing else because you love carrots is going to end up causing a problem. Right? You need other nutrients. But having that as one element of your business, the challenge I often issue is try to marry at some level. Doesn't mean it's your whole business, right? But that you are putting some element of your business together that has a passion zone to it, and that does drive business. And having leadership opportunities inside of that. When people see real estate agents are leaders. By the title of realtor, we're leaders, right? We're moving communities, we're changing communities, we're helping people attain their goals. This leadership is influenced, and we're doing consultations to help understand what people's goals are, and then mapping out a plan to help them achieve those goals, right? So we are leaders, right? So when people can see us in leadership capacities, they really do put faith and trust in us. And then they say, hey, if he can do that here, I guess he can do that there. So, okay. Did I see a hand back there? And
I was just going to say balance. And I don't think I could define it for him. He has to define it for himself.
Yeah, that's a great point. Everybody's got to learn that balance. Coach's help. Trying to do it on your own is tough. So having an environment like we've got here where you can talk to great leaders and kind of bounce things off of them, where you can go over your specific scenario and then map things out, that really makes a difference.
Dave, just on a side note, giving it up altogether, I think is going to do more harm than good. As one who balances music, anybody who knows what I sing every other week one, I can do a lot of business from there. I build my database from there because I'm inviting them to my parties and stuff. Most important, I recharge. I have to be recharged.
love it. So, point 3, life is not a dress rehearsal. This is a great point. The reality is that, let's read this first paragraph. I'm a longtime reader of Charles Schulz's comic strip, Peanuts. Schulz captures the feeling of many people in a strip in which his Charlie Brown character says to his pal Linus, life is just too much for me. I've been confused from the day I was born. I think the whole trouble is we're thrown into life too fast. We're not really prepared. Linus responds, what did you want? A chance to warm up first? There is no warm up for life, yet that's the way many people seem to be treating it. Each of us goes on stage cold, with no preparation, and we have to figure it out as we go along. That could be messy, we fail, we make mistakes, but we still need to give it our best from the very start. We don't get a rehearsal for life. We have to do the very best we can in the moment, but we can learn from others who have gone before us and found success. They should inspire us to plan as best we can and to give our all. Comedian Fred Allen once said, you only live once, but if you work it right, once is enough. And I think our overall conversation in here is summarized really well there. Who's doing it? Somebody walked into a meeting a couple of weeks ago and said, calling expireds don't work. And I was like, whoa. Somebody somewhere is doing it, and they're making a lot of money doing it. So what do they know that you don't know, and how can I help you get in touch with that person? Right? It's a different way of looking at it, and he really summarizes it really well here. Another example of this, kind of a very basic example that helps frame this up, is teaching in a market center, right? I'm going to teach the listing consultation class because teaching not only is going to teach me how to manage a group and think quick on my feet, but it's going to teach me the models and best practices. This will be my practice zone. I saw an interview, I love the Olympics, I saw an interview with the divers, the pairs divers. For some reason I've never really paid attention to pairs diving. It was captivating this year. There were some great divers. You know how many dives they take before that series of dives they make at the Olympics? How many practice dives? 25,000 dives before they even show up at the Olympics. Their training regimen has them doing 25,000 dives when they get serious about the Olympics. How many of us just grab our materials and go off to our listing presentation, but yeah, that's the bread and butter and the crux of our business or our buyer consultations, right? It's shocking when we look at real world models out there and realize we can be performing at an Olympic level if we take the time to do the 25,000. That's why I love the way we're set up here, because you can teach in a market center and have that kind of energy and learn how to think quick on your feet and manage personalities. And then you show up on the listing consultation, you not only have taught the best practices, but you've actually learned how to work well with people, read people, help move things forward, keep things in momentum. It all works for the whole, and it's great that the whole environment here is set up that way. So what's interesting about this, though, is I saw an interview that really captures this whole little point here that life is not a dress rehearsal with Michael Phelps. And how many of you have studied the relationship or learned of the relationship between Michael Phelps and his coach? Anyone learned about this or has coach's antics with Michael Phelps? He believes that the world deals out, many of us who have competed in anything, whether it's music, sports, whatever. We know that we can prepare as long as we can, but game day, it shows up differently, right? So his coach knows that as well. So his coach, while he's coaching on the sidelines, will just step on his goggles and crack them. And then Michael Phelps has got to adjust. There's no moment, it was a race, but he stepped on his goggles and cracked them, so Michael Phelps had to deal with the stresses, right? The way his coach describes it is life is chaos, and I got to get him comfortable in chaos. Wouldn't you agree that that's the case? Life is chaos out there, right? So staying steady amid the chaos. Or the coach will have him miss the town car will come late and they'll have to miss dinner and he'll prepare. But I want you to pay special attention in this video to that kind of mantra, and then afterwards just some ahas from people as to what stood out to them and how that applies to real estate. But notice how preparing for the worst possible scenario in some regards, even though that's not their mindset, watch what happens at the Beijing Olympics 4 years ago. If you remember what happened to Michael Phelps. And if you don't, you're going to see it here, and we can go ahead and
I would never serve for another coach. Bob has done so much to help me get to where I am today. He's put up with a lot. I was probably not the easiest person to coach, but the passion that we have for the sport.
Hello.
Nothing like an inspirational video that gets a little chalky in the middle.
That's the only problem.
Yeah, just go to escape and see if it goes on the smaller one.
What?
We're in a, for those of you that missed the first portion.
I would never assume for another coach. Bob has done so much to help me get to where I am today. He's put up with a lot. I'm probably not the easiest person to coach, but the passion that we have for the sport and what we do, I think is really what has made us as successful as we are.
All right, 300. Ready? Bob Bowman seems to delight in tormenting the world's greatest swimmer. His goal, to make Michael Phelps familiar with chaos and measure how he performs when things go wrong.
I've stepped on his goggles and beats before so that they filled with water when he swam. One meet he forgot to take his goggles out, and instead of bringing them to him, I just hid them in my pocket. I've had the driver pick us up late so that he missed dinner one time. So I've done a few things to kind of make life difficult for him.
Bob was telling me that every time you get close to achieving what he wants you to achieve in a workout, he raises the bar just a little bit.
He always tries to push you that extra level, so you're ready for anything that happens.
Years of Bowman's devious preparations foretold an unwelcome snag in the Beijing 200-meter butterfly final. Seconds into the race, Phelps' goggles filled with water.
I was just guessing and praying that I was going to hit the wall. I guess I had done so many things to work out that I knew how many strokes I was going to take and how many hits off the wall would put me at this distance. So it's just really just making sure that I do all the things that I do in the workout. And if I do that, I know where I'm going to hit.
He just counted his strokes, which is something that we do a lot in practice. Michael's able to handle adversity and keep his cool and still do his job.
Watch the water pour out of Michael's goggles.
I was able to still relax and to do what I had trained to do.
After the race, Phelps told Bowman that he couldn't see a thing, but Phelps had been made ready to react. Adversity hadn't cost him another gold medal.
I like teaching him those lessons because they all paid off in the end. And I think that to be somewhat on Michael's level, you've got to be able to handle anything that comes at you, and the Olympics certainly throw a lot of curveballs.
It's like this outlaw music at the end there. I think we need to see Tombstone or something. So, what stood out to you in that video? Just a couple of thoughts. Did you catch how he was able to adapt to adversity? And it's almost like he just talked about it casually, like, yeah, you know, he steps on my goggles, the town car misses, and, you know, I'm just able to adapt. Almost like it's normal, right? But it really, watching that video when I saw that broadcast, I thought, how adaptable am I to adversity? And I do believe it starts with really having a clear picture on what we want in life and then going after it. But life is not the dress rehearsal.
Good point.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys are great. I'm here all week. Try the bill. It's delicious.
It was cool. He said he couldn't see, yet he knew how many strokes he had to do, how many times he had to hit the wall. And so he just did it. And plus with all the practice, he did it.
Because he did it in practice.
Yes.
He counted his strokes in practice. You know, amazing concept. Amazing life concept. Cool. I saw a couple other hands. Go ahead.
I think it's crazy how every other person in that swimming pool had a fifth sense that he didn't, or eyesight, and he still ended up beating all of them.
He got the gold medal, but he couldn't see.
He got the gold medal essentially with his eyes shut.
Yes.
That's
Did you see the water come out of his goggles?
Yeah.
Right. How does that show up in your life, in my life, right? Do we have moments where water's in our
Yes.
goggles, right? But did we do the drill prior to game time so we could just be like, yeah, I just adapted. It's all cool. This is such a top producer principle that it's unbelievable. This is teaching at the highest level. So
it also trains you to focus on those things that you can control. And the things you can't control, you can't worry about those. You just put them in your rearview mirror.
yeah.
And then you're looking at everything as what is the possibility instead of what is the excuse.
Love that. Well said. Well said. Great points. It's a great video. It's a tricky one to find, but if you go to the NBC Olympic page and click on athletes and find Michael Phelps, and then you just scroll through, you'll see Ryan Seacrest, Michael Phelps. Okay, so anyway, it's a great video. Go back and watch it, share it in whatever groups you're part of. It's just a great video because it really does give a profound top producer, high achiever, above average way of looking at life. Count your strokes. No matter what happens, you're going to get to the finish line. So
one of the things I saw, the very first part was I wouldn't swim for anybody else. The loyalty between the coach and Michael Phelps. I mean, and bring that to our level. Find a mentor, find a coach, find somebody that you trust implicitly, and let them help you build your business. And the fact that it's reciprocal because you're helping the coach what the coach is helping you, but you're not going to make that next level a lot of times by yourself. And like you said, I'll never swim for anybody else.
awesome. Is Bob, with that in mind, is Bob Bowman a better swimmer than Michael Phelps? Interesting coaching principle, right? But Bob Bowman is a better coach than Michael Phelps, right? He knows what to drill, he's got an eye for it. Look, I mean, and honestly, the principle of adapting to chaos is a brilliant one. That's a life success principle. I love this. This struck a chord with you guys. So this is good. No, you go ahead.
This shows us that if you practice enough, you can do anything with your eyes closed.
There you go. Sounds like we need to get a t-shirt made with that on the back. I think we've got your family reunion t-shirts now.
Not our family reunion.
Okay, next year.
Back to the goggle thing, I kind of reflect the bold law. You get exactly what you deserve in your imagination, and even though he couldn't see, he probably saw himself winning every time he practiced. So
Yeah.
he did.
I know, and I was thinking that bold law that says how you perform here is how you perform out there, or however that's worded. So
I think he took what happened to him, I think he used it as raw fuel. I think it fired him up, and I think he took every stroke.
Yeah.
Using that to his advantage instead of letting it hold it down.
absolutely. Which would be training for, you know, he's prepared for chaos. Like that just fuels him. I'm not going to lose this. I've done 25,000 dives. I'm not going to mess this up or whatever it may be, right? That 25,000 dive principle to me is such a top producer principle too. 25,000 dives off that platform before they show up to the Olympics. And that's just in their couple of year training period. 25,000. Why do I think I can just not practice a listing consultation or buyer consultation and just walk in and do it? Then that becomes practice time, right? Then actually what I'm doing is using that actual client FaceTime instead of focusing on them. I'm not able to do it with my eyes closed. So it's fascinating, mind-boggling. Okay, saw another hand and then we got to move on. So,
no.
Okay, cool. Anybody else? All right, so bringing it home. The last point he gives, point number 4, is in planning your life, multiply everything by 2. We'll just go over this one lightly, which I do love this principle, and it actually has been a freeing principle for me. But anytime I think that something's going to take X amount of dollars, then I times it by 2. If I think that something's going to take me an hour to do, then I times it by 2. In fact, the scheduling part of that has freed me up exponentially in the last 6 months of my life. Okay, so timesing things by 2 enables you to plan accordingly and be able to guard your motivation, so to speak. There was a period where I was just running from one thing in the not so distant past, where I was just running really hard from one thing to the next. And I never was really prepared because I was running. There was no break time between. Finally, when I started, if I said it's an hour meeting and I started scheduling an hour and a half, 2 hours, or it's a project that's going to take me an hour, I started scheduling 2 hours, I had a much balanced, more calm life. And I still was able to accomplish the things in my 20% that brought about 80% of my results.
I was just going to say that's a true principle in building a home, too.
Look no further than construction, right? Okay, having remodeled several, that is the true story. Okay, so the last points here. Fourth paragraph from the back on the last page, and here's our summary thoughts. Give 2 times the effort and energy to growing yourself overall. It's part of business planning. It absolutely is, okay? And then the second from the last paragraph, most accomplishments in life come more easily if you approach them strategically. Rarely does a haphazard approach to anything succeed, and even the few times a non-strategic approach to achievement comes to fruition, it's not repeatable. right? Success leaves clues, and those clues are repeatable, okay? Because they're strategies, they're systems. Strategies and systems are a way of life for me. Michael Gerber, author of the E-Myth, great book, says that systems permit ordinary people